Hello everyone, I'm Colin. Welcome back to my channel. Today's just a bit of tips and tricks and jigs. And I'm in the middle of making one right now, and I thought I'd stop because I don't think I've shown you this, so let's have a look at this. So I'm in the middle of making a push stick, and I like to put a magnet in this one. I'm going to show you where it's going to go in a minute and why I'm doing this. This is a remake of an existing one that I just threw out, and I'm just putting a small hole in there. I've got some wood stuck to the bottom of that. I can feel that. I just need to go deep enough for this magnet to go in here. But before I do that, what I want to do is I'm going to put a hole right through the middle here. And I do this with all magnets that I'm putting in because this is going to be replaced, and when I want to push that magnet out, I can just use the hole in there. And I don't think I've gone quite deep enough in here. Okay, that's good. Okay, now I can just push that out right now before I put the glue in. So now I'm going to put a little bit of Star Bond in there. Okay, I'm just going to put a little, you don't need much in here, just using a little bit of the thick Star Bond. And instead of spraying with an accelerator, I have one of these little bottles of accelerator, and I'm just going to coat the back of the magnet like that, and that'll be an instant bond when I put that in there. Now that's not going to come out. And now what I do, I put some tape over top of that. What that does is it stops this from attaching itself so firmly that sometimes it wants to pull the magnet out after a few months or so. This will stop that. Now let me show you where I'm putting this. So here's my bandsaw. I just wheeled in front here, and it's unplugged right now. And that's where I keep my push sticks. Why? Because when I'm standing in front of the bandsaw like this, and I'm pushing something through, I don't want to be looking around all over. It's right there. I can push it right through, quick and easy and safe. And yeah, it gets cut up, and that's why I drill a hole in the back and why I put the tape on there, because the last one, I decided it was time to redo it. So there it is there. But I've got some other things that I've done on the bandsaw. Let me show you some of these things that I have. Just first of all, I wanted to show you this little sign that I made just on my laser printer, but you can do it on anything, that hangs in front of the off-on switch, and it just reminds me to turn the tension off and on the blade, and that's just a lever up behind here. The other thing I wanted to show you is I picked this up used a few weeks ago, and it's called a magnetic bandsaw fence, and it's fully adjustable because you can lock it in any position. Let me show you how this works. So the purpose of a fence like this is to compensate for what they call bandsaw drift. And that's when you're pushing a piece of wood through your bandsaw and it wants to track either left or right. It won't go absolutely straight. And most of the reason for that is because you've lost the set in the teeth. So you either cut a circle or an arc or something, and you've inadvertently crushed the set. The teeth on a bandsaw sort of stick out from the blade, and you can tell that by just running your finger up and down. You can actually feel the teeth will catch on both sides. If they don't catch on one side or the other or both, it means you've lost the set, and that means whatever you run through your bandsaw, it's going to drift one way or another. And the way you find that is you take a piece of wood, you run a straight line all the way down, just like that. Then you take that and you run that through the bandsaw, and I'm going to assume that that's the line. And when you do that, after about 3 or 4 inches, that you will notice that in order to cape on that line, you're either going to have to move the wood one way or another. And when you do that, you'll push it through to about 6 inches, and when you do, just turn the bandsaw off, don't touch anything, just let it set like that. Then you get a T-square and align the T-square with the exact angle. I've just moved that, but whatever. to whatever that piece of wood is, and now you take that out and you decide how thick it is that you want to cut your wood, rip your wood on the bandsaw, and then you set that bandsaw fence to that thickness, and when you lock that down and run that wood through, it will give you a nice straight cut because it's following the drift that you've already figured out. For those of you who are following my channel, you'll know that a few videos ago I put a steel deck on top of my sander, and there's a couple of reasons I wanted to do that. First of all, I used magnetic switches here for my dust collector at the back, and I hook up my dust collector for this. This is such a great way of keeping dust free. This makes the sander so much easier to use, so much no dust. But the other thing, sometimes I want to put a chamfer on some things, and if I'm using a dowel, a piece of dowel, I put this groove in here, and this is just a jig that I've made up, and it very quickly works like this. And that gives me a quick chamfer, easy to do on anything like this. Now I can also use this, for example, I wanted to have a place where I could chamfer legs, like when I'm making tables. I just moved this over to another hole over here that I have, but I can do the same thing. And you'll notice that I've cut a 45-degree angle. That is to just sort of match so that I'm at a 45-degree angle to the sandpaper there. And when I turn this on now, and that way, look at that, I get a perfect chamfer every time. It's not lopsided. It actually sits just perfectly in there. Now, if you're only doing one, it doesn't matter, but if you're doing a table with 4 legs, or maybe chairs with 4 legs, and you've got multiples, this makes sure that they all look uniform and that they all work nicely. And when you see them sitting like that, they look just lovely. Now, the other thing that I did is, and I'm still working on this jig, I'm not entirely happy with it yet, but this is another jig, and this is one of the main reasons that I wanted to put this deck on here, because when I'm doing very thin pieces, and I want to size them now, I'm not sanding them, I'm sizing them now, and what this is what it looks like, and this is basically like a feather board, and it's going to sit at a little bit of an angle because remember this rotates in this direction. So just like in a table saw, you want to feed into the direction. And what I'm using it for is for sizing very thin pieces of wood. So the way it sits there is fairly close to the sander, and what happens now is you can see that as that pushes out like that, it puts a little bit of pressure just in this area, and it helps to resize these thinner pieces. Now, it works fine. I have had one mishap with it, and that was when I put a piece of wood through, and I'm working on what strength to use here, and I'm thinking it doesn't have to be flexible. It could probably just be a piece of wood, because at one point when I was doing a thinner piece, this flopped back and this whole thing didn't move, but then it started to sand my feather board here, which we don't want that to happen. So I'm still working on it, and it actually works, but I'm just kind of fine-tuning it a bit now, and that's why you see the clamp here. But that's what it looks like, and I'm as I fine-tune this, I'll give you an update on that. Somebody asked me not long ago if I had stair guides and if I used them. This is what stair guides are, stair guides, and I'm going to show you what I used to use them for, what I use them for now. So stair guides are used for two things: making stairs, which is where they got their name from, but also making a bird's mouth for rafters, if you're ever making rafters, which I don't do much anymore. And they just clamp onto a square. You can see there's a little hole there and a little twist knob on top, and they just, you set them up wherever you want. And typically, I'm just going to set this at 8 and whatever, it's 8 and 4 or something. Just so here's a bird's mouth in a rafter. So if you get a rafter like this, and it's going to sit on a plate, a top plate here, this is called a bird's mouth, and this is what where they would use something like this. But typically where it gets its name from is for stairs, when you're making stairs. And I've just got this set up as a 8 and 4 just to show you. So if you're making stairs and you've got a 2x8, for example, and you're wanting to cut steps into it, basically you just go like this, and then you can move this up like that. There's your next one, and so on. Just keep going on, and that way you can set up your stairs. But here's where I use it. So what I use stair guides for now, typically, the most often I'm using it for measuring the inside of a cabinet, because I want to get the shelves, I'm looking for a near exact fit. So what I can do, because I can't get in there with a ruler, and I've tried going back and forth like this, and setting up, and you know what, you can use magnets, and I have used magnets. The problem with magnets is they're on the long side, they're okay, but they can kind of twist. But if you got nothing else, you use what you've got, and I have used that in the past. But typically what I will use are my stair guides, and you just put them on like that, set them on, attach them, and now those things are locked on there. They're not going anywhere. You can't move those easily. And you can, of course, you can adjust them back and forth so that you can either with a long ruler, so you can use like 2 rulers together. I've got a little square here. You can see I've got a square, but you could use long rulers. I even have this, and I don't have a short version of it, but I've cut the end of that off, and then that is actually cut right to the very tip, because when you put a tape on there, it shows up exactly at that 1 inch, 2 inch mark. And the purpose of that is I can get right into a corner to get an exact measurement, so that I'm not, I don't have this encumbrance here. So that's just another little trick. So stair guides, they're only a few bucks. I don't even remember what they're worth. Probably under $10. But you know what? They actually come in pretty useful from time to time. Well, and that concludes my video for today. And just as a reminder, if you've got some ideas on this little featherboard attachment for my belt sander, I'd sure like to hear what you've got to say about it. Maybe some kind of a roller system. You might have an idea on that. That concludes my video for today. I'm Colin for Woodwork Web. Thanks for watching.